mynews.studio.
A single injection that reprograms the body's DNA. Could this be the turning point for diseases once considered incurable?
Today's date is 2025-12-21. Let's look at the speed of progress. This year, gene therapies have really moved from being on the edges to becoming more mainstream. For example, Casgevy, now approved for sickle cell disease and transfusion-dependent beta thalassemia, clinical trials are underway at 50 sites across North America, Europe, and the Middle East. Out of 17 sickle cell patients treated, 16 have avoided vaso-occlusive crises. That's a major shift. How often do we actually see such a dramatic change in a disease's course? That's a major shift. How often do we actually see such a dramatic change in a disease's course?
Right, and it's not just about blood disorders. uniQure's AMT-130, which is injected directly into the brain, managed to slow the progression of Huntington's disease by about 75% in high-dose patients for up to 3 years. That's measured using the cUHDRS metric. But here's what's really interesting. It modifies the disease process without actually changing the DNA. Isn't that a shift in how we think about genetic diseases? Treating them at the RNA or protein level instead of the DNA itself?
And there's also the story of the infant with CPS1 deficiency, which is a metabolic disorder that previously had no treatment options. In just 6 months, a personalized CRISPR therapy was designed and delivered using lipid nanoparticles. This corrected the liver mutation in vivo. Does this suggest that on-demand therapies could become standard for rare diseases?
That's the direction things seem to be heading, and it's expanding beyond just rare diseases. For example, Intellia's CRISPR trial for hereditary angioedema, all 27 participants had sustained responses after 2 years, and some have remained completely attack-free for over a year. Those results moved the trial into Phase 3, so broader access might be possible by 2027.
Prime editing is another angle. Prime Medicine's data in chronic granulomatous disease shows it could be a safer way to edit genes. We're also seeing progress in targeting heart and liver diseases, and even moving CAR T-cell therapies, which have mainly worked in blood cancers, toward solid tumors. So is the real goal to make CRISPR for all a reality? Or are there still barriers that we haven't addressed?
There are significant hurdles. Scaling these therapies comes with very high costs. Casgevy, for example, can cost millions per patient, which is much more than traditional treatments like blood transfusions or chemotherapy. And even those are expensive but ongoing. Some developers are trying outcome-based payment models where the full price is only paid if the therapy works. Do you think that could be practical for lower-income countries?
That's still uncertain. Most current efforts to improve access are focused on cutting down the need for chemotherapy or invasive procedures like brain injections, which could help lower costs. But making these therapies globally available also needs infrastructure, specialized manufacturing, cold chain logistics, and facilities for making viral vectors or nanoparticles. Plus, clinicians need training for these complex procedures. Are healthcare systems ready for this kind of demand?
Not yet. Most trials are still limited to around 50 specialized sites worldwide. To expand access, we'll need to invest in manufacturing centers, align regulations for faster approvals, and provide training across the board, from neurosurgery to long-term safety monitoring. It's a major undertaking. Can regulatory agencies keep up with the speed of all this innovation?
Regulators are adjusting. The FDA now allows accelerated approvals using external controls and real-world data, like what we saw in uniQure's Huntingtons trial. For personalized therapies, timelines are getting shorter. Just look at the 6-month turnaround for the CPS1 case. But there's also the ethical side. How do we make sure the process is transparent and genuinely inclusive?
Patient advocacy groups are crucial here. They're working with biotechs and research centers to ensure trial designs use real-world controls and that informed consent is thorough, especially for small or vulnerable groups. global biotech companies are now running diverse, multi-center trials to improve representation and track safety. But as more therapies reach the market, keeping transparency and equitable access will always be a challenge.
So what does all this mean for the future? Are we getting closer to a world where any patient, anywhere, could get a one-time curative gene therapy?
That possibility is getting closer, but making CRISPR for one into CRISPR for all will depend on how we solve the cost, distribution, and training challenges. The science is advancing quickly, but the systems around it need to catch up.
Today, we've seen gene therapy achieve results once thought impossible, slowing or reversing diseases like Huntingtons, sickle cell, and rare metabolic disorders. But there are still major questions about cost, infrastructure, and ethics. Will the benefits of gene therapy be shared equally worldwide?
Thank you for joining us. Gene therapy is here, and its future will depend not only on science, but also on access and working together.
Thank you for listening. This episode was powered by mynews.studio. You can try it now for free.